In the last week, we have had a number of things that have excited Kenyans, made Kenyans angry, but generally led to a conversation which is healthy. There was the issue of CBC. Many people arguing that this is the wrong thing for this country. Government defending it. There was the twin problem of TPD, I don't know what it's called, Teachers Professional Development, of teachers, poor teachers being forced to pay 6,000 shillings to get further training from some would argue very dubious institutions. They are good institutions, but that's what Kenyans have been saying. But the one that caught the attention of Kenyans most is the Pandora papers or the Pandora leaks. Kenyans are up in arms. People are saying the Kenyattas, Uhuru Kenyatta, have violated the law, have stashed money in safe havens, tax havens abroad. Now, I differ a bit. And when I render this through a tweet, I'm hit left, right. The most notable, of course, being a tweet I sent to a TV radio station, and my friend Boni Halwale came ballistic hitting at me. But let us demystify this problem. What are tax havens? People know Switzerland. It was the only one known for many years. Panama joined, Isle of Man, Cayman Islands. But people don't know even the UK. There's that kind of banking. Germany is a good example. To vilify somebody merely because they have put their money abroad is to fail to understand how international capitalism works. And it is to mix what is legal and what is moral. If somebody takes their money and puts it somewhere and you feel it is better in this country, and yet that person has not broken the law, you are introducing morality. Morality is very tricky. What is moral in South Africa cannot even be imagined in this country. What is moral here is immoral elsewhere. Morality is so fluid, and that's why it is safe to stick with the law. So what are these safe havens or tax havens? These are people who realized they can offer banking opportunities, refined banking for high-end customers who have their money. They want this money safe with maximum profits, perhaps attracting the least tax. That is a strategy for a country. What then happened was in the 60s and 70s and a bit of 80s, African leaders and other third world despots, as Miguna would call them, stole monies from their countries, the Sani Abachas, and went to use those facilities. So we erroneously link those facilities with theft. That was just incidental. These are crooks who capitalize on an otherwise good facility offered by a country. Remember when Dubai, for example, came up with the concept of a free port. Everybody laughed at them. Look at what that has led Dubai into. Many years ago, some people argued, why don't we borrow from that and make Mombasa a free port? Maybe we would have ripped from that. Look at how difficult it is to do business in this country. I know government has done something. It is easier to register a company now. But there are still so many roadblocks. Try doing something and you are sent to NEMA for environmental assessment. You are sent, I don't know to who, you are sent to, in the midway, you leave it. Midway. You forget about that business. We should be talking about making Kenya a place where people can do business. If I had been the president of this country in the 70s, 80s and 90s, I would have ensured that if you are in the Eastern Central African region, all the way Malawi, Zambia, DRC, Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, all these countries, if you don't have a bank in Kenya, you don't have a bank. If you are not shopping in Kenya, you have not shopped anywhere. We would have taken advantage of the relative underdevelopment of our neighbors to offer clean banking, clean shopping. That's what some of these countries have done, but those have been abused by certain despots. So when the Kenyatta saga comes up, I look at it. First, they are saying there's no corruption. Look, so if you are looking for corruption, don't look for it in the Pandora Papers. No, look for it elsewhere. If you have your own ideas and you can do your own deductions and say, certainly, that's another story. And I'm going to come to that story. So there is nothing illegal. There's nothing stolen. Secondly, the constitution of this country, the laws of this country, demand of our state officers that they should not operate foreign accounts. That an act of parliament be put in place to handle that if they must. The question is, in the Pandora's paper, does Uhuru have an account outside? The answer is no. So when I find serious men and women, educated men and women, men who should be helping society to go beyond emotions and help us use something like this to fish out the problems. So what are the problems? What can we learn from the Pandora Papers? We could then say, this is reminding us that our money in the past has been stolen by people. So these intelligent men and women should be crafting ways, strategies of how we can go to Switzerland, for example, not the 40 million they brought. How we can approach Switzerland and tell them, we want to make sure in your banks, money stolen from Kenya is not there. How we can go to all these funny islands with funny names and ensure it's not just Okemo, Gishuru, 900 million with 400 return here. No. There must be people who have stolen money from this country, who have stuck the money there. My learned men in this country are talking about 30 million US dollars. I hear some of them saying 30 million is 3 trillion shillings. This 3 billion shillings. The infrastructure of the Kenyatta investment, infrastructure alone, machinery alone, cannot even be 3 billion. Now, to make this thing clear, to some of us who don't understand, we are in a capitalist arrangement. Capitalism has its own ways of working. I hate it myself, but I have no power to destroy it. This is how capitalism works. Go to America, 75% of top 500 companies in America, the top ones, any big company in America, they invest offshore. American companies produce goods for the American market. They are produced in Mexico. Your iPhone, look at it. Designed in California, produced in China. This isn't, nobody is saying that, only Trump attempted to say, bring jobs back home. This capitalism is a thieving system. It's a monster. It eats people. Ask yourself, do these big companies in this country pay taxes? They don't pay taxes. Why? The law allows you to avoid tax. The law makes it illegal to evade tax. So they do tax avoidance. They have hired the best accountants, the best tax experts. They are always declaring losses. Ask yourself, look at your typical bank or your typical big company in this country. How many other companies are associated with that company? Or company this, holding company this, subsidiary that. All those are attempts to ensure their money is not touched by the taxman. Dear Kenyans, especially those of you who are educated, help this country walk out of this. The conversation should be, how can we identify people who stole our money in this country? Don't allow your hatred for Uhuru Kenyatta, because people seem to think all the problems in this country are caused by Uhuru Kenyatta, which again coming from educated people. It's so simplistic, like I told Bonnie. Some of these are global and international trends. Some of these have to do not just with corona, but big things happening in the world. Some of them are mistakes in this country. Some of them is over borrowing in this country. Stealing what is borrowed. educated men and women, you owe it to your society, to your country, to go beyond the emotions of the ordinary man about the Pandora and look at what else in this country. As you are talking about $30 million, which is 3 billion shillings, you educated Kenyan, shame on you. Do you know that this country loses hundreds of billions of dollars, of shillings? Billions, hundreds of billions of shillings. Go to the internet and Google. Through tax exemptions, tax cuts, tax holidays, exemptions. Zero rating. You remember the golden bag? We lost money because of export compensation. We still have VAT refunds. Do you know how much is lost through tax exemptions? Through those breaks. Do you know people are given as many as 10 years when they bring machinery here not to pay taxes? Go and Google and find billions. Educated men and women, help this country. You will not help this country if you are following 30 million US dollars and calling it 3 trillion shillings without understanding the intricacies of capitalism, of how the rich safely play around with us, turning us into slaves, giving us slave wages, maximizing profits, avoiding tax. Let's stop being cheap. For indeed we are being cheap as a country. This country should look for resources, find ways of making Kenya a destination for investment, clean investment. Turn Kenya into a place where everybody wants to come and invest. You educated woman, you educated man, come out and help us find out that. Look at Rwanda today with a gold refinery. Doesn't have gold. Gold is coming from DRC, flying over us through Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Origins, country of origin, Rwanda. Country of origin, Uganda. Wazungu wanapita with gold from DRC through Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Legal way. What are we doing to get our share of what is African in the African region? These are the things I'm saying. Open your eyes if you are educated. As you talk about money, do you know, for example, you educated woman joining everybody in an emotional outburst about the Pandora box. Do you know, for example, government banks with private banks, state corporations, all these parastatals, universities included, everybody, they bank with private banks. Billions upon billions of shillings. Do you know what happens? As you shout yourself hoarse, government goes to borrow from those banks. Borrowing its own money. Paying interest. When you hear domestic borrowing, government is borrowing its own money. How much money do we have in the banks and elsewhere, even when we have unclaimed assets authority? People who are banked and died, they had no relatives or they were hiding the money. Please, I am appealing to educated Kenyans, knowledgeable Kenyans. Help your country. Help your countrymen identify what ails this country. To rise this economy, how can we raise money other than taxation? Go to Ethiopia here. Fuel is 30% of what it costs here. Electricity. You can now do business. Look at the cost of petrol in this country. Let us try to force the government to look at it the way we are looking at it. Say, we can reduce the price of petrol from 130 to 70 and 60. And imagine the impact on the economy. That's what I want to hear. That's the conversation. But when people who should know better become emotional and join their less endowed brothers and sisters in getting excited about a capitalist game, anybody who has money here at a certain level, they know how to play with that money. When it gets higher, political risk becomes a consideration. You begin to imagine if something happened in Kenya when Uhuru is living, where is my money? You know, you begin to look for those places you can invest money. You look for those with the best interest, safest. You look for tax regimes. These are capitalists. Let's not cheer any one of them. But stop being cheap. If God has given you a brain, and this country has helped you to nurture that brain and get to a certain level, help your country. Don't be emotional about simple things when there are big things we should do in this country.